There is a verse in 1 Corinthians that talks about not having fellowship or even breaking bread with those that do certain things. Okay? And one of those things is revilers. Do you know that reviling is held on the same level as all these other things? Here it is, I found it. Okay? In 1 Corinthians 5, okay, he says, "But now I've written to you to not keep company with anyone called a brother, if he's one who whores, is greedy of gain, an idolater, or a reviler, or a drunkard, or a swindler, and not even to eat with such a one." Do we take that whole thing seriously? What is a reviler? A reviler is someone who's going to speak nastily and angrily and bitterly and attackingly against somebody. They revile. Okay, it's a lot stronger than criticism. Okay, revilers. There are certain people who have left this fellowship, not many, very few, who people have said to me, well, why don't you try to go reach out to this person or this or that, or why do you have a problem when certain people are breaking bread with that person? I said, because they are revilers, and Scripture tells you not to do it. I'm not saying everybody that's ever left was a reviler. Only a tiny, 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 tiny few left in a state of reviling, in the activity called reviling. You may want to look the word up in the dictionary, study it out, because it says here, if you want to listen, some of you don't like to listen to Paul, all right? But Paul is saying to not even eat with such a one. Someone who was called a brother. We're not talking about outside people. Someone who was called a brother who is doing any of these 6 or 7 things: whoring, greedy gain, idolatry, reviling, drunkard, etc., swindling. Not even to eat with such a brother. And people say, oh, you're so strong, you're so mean. This is what the verse says. Now, this is not Scripture, as I would say Scripture. In other words, this is not a thus said Yahweh. But this is an apostle type, a shaliach, a person who went out and were reading his wise counsel to a group of people he was responsible for as he interpreted things, and we can learn from that. So Paul is saying, look, I'm telling you, he says, I have written you. So he says, I have written you not to keep company with anyone called a brother if he does all these different things. He says, well, what have I to do with judging outsiders? I'm not talking about outsiders. I'm talking about if a brother is doing these things. That's using judgment. And so yes, I have drawn some lines on 1 or 2 people, and that's all it is, just 1 or 2 or 3 people, and said, look, I'm sorry, if you're still interacting with these people who left as revilers, then you're not doing the right thing, unless you're interacting with them is to get them to fix the reviling that they did. But remember, a lot of people have been in and out of this congregation, and 99.9% of them were not revilers. They had issues in this. You can have an issue and not be a reviler. Reviling has to do with spewing a lot heavier ugliness in a very attacking, vicious way. A reviler. The word vile is in there. We ever try to say, wow, what you just said, that was vile. Because you think about someone who's saying vile things. Only 1 or 2 people have left here doing that. And so if you wonder why we draw that line, that's why we draw that line.